Listen to me. Most people wake up every morning chasing money, chasing approval, chasing comfort, chasing attention. But very few wake up chasing purpose. And that's why most people feel empty even when they succeed. Because success without purpose is just noise. It's applause without meaning. It's movement without direction. You weren't born just to exist. You weren't created just to survive. You weren't placed on this earth just to scroll, complain, sleep, repeat. You were born for something. There's an assignment attached to your name, a calling connected to your struggle, a destiny tied to your discipline. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Purpose doesn't come knocking on your door. Purpose hides. Purpose waits. Purpose tests you. And only those willing to chase it catch it. Some of you are tired because you're chasing the wrong things. You're running after popularity when you should be running after growth. You're chasing comfort when you should be chasing calling. You're chasing shortcuts when you should be chasing mastery. Stop asking, what pays the most? And start asking, what pulls the best out of me? Purpose is not convenient. Purpose will wake you up early and keep you up late. Purpose will ask you to sacrifice sleep, comfort, and sometimes even people. Purpose will demand discipline when motivation disappears. But if you stay faithful to it, purpose will reward you with something money can't buy: fulfillment. Let me tell you something. When you chase purpose, pain stops being punishment and starts being preparation. Rejection stops being failure and starts being redirection. Struggle stops being a barrier and starts being a bridge. Because when you know your purpose, you stop quitting when it gets hard. When you know your purpose, you stop doubting when it gets quiet. When you know your purpose, you stop comparing when others succeed. Some of you are waiting for the perfect moment, but purpose doesn't wait for perfect condition. Purpose is revealed in motion. It shows up when you start, not when you plan forever. Not when you plan forever. When you move, when you try, when you risk, when you fall and get back up again. You don't find purpose sitting still. You find purpose chasing growth. You find purpose chasing discipline. You find purpose chasing impact. Because purpose is not just about you. It's about who benefits because you refuse to quit. The world doesn't need another person who blends in. The world needs someone who steps up, someone who shows up, someone who stands up. And that someone is supposed to be you. But you got to decide. Are you going to chase comfort or are you going to chase purpose? Because comfort will entertain you. Purpose will transform you. Comfort will distract you. Purpose will define you. Comfort will fade. Purpose will echo long after you're gone. So I challenge you today. Stop running from the work. Stop hiding behind excuses. Stop shrinking your dreams to fit your fears. Chase your purpose like your life depends on it. Because it does. Wake up with it. Fight for it. Bleed for it. Grow through it. One day when people ask how you made it, you won't say luck. You won't say chance. You'll say, I chased purpose, and purpose led me here. Most people think they need clarity before they move, but that belief is the very thing keeping them stuck. They sit still, waiting for a sign, waiting for confidence, waiting for certainty, waiting for the perfect plan. And while they wait, life keeps moving. Opportunities pass, time passes, seasons change, and they remain exactly where they started. What they don't realize is that purpose is not something you find before you begin. It's something that reveals itself because you begin. Action is the flashlight that lights the path. Without movement, everything stays dark. You cannot steer a parked car. You cannot redirect a life that refuses to move. People say they're confused about their purpose, but the truth is they haven't given themselves enough motion to discover it. Clarity is not a starting point. It is a reward. It shows up after mistakes, after trying, after failing, after learning. Waiting feels safe because it protects you from embarrassment, rejection, and risk. But safety is expensive. Safety costs you growth. Safety costs you experience. Safety costs you the very discovery you're praying for. Think about it. Every skill you have today exists because you tried something yesterday. You didn't learn to walk by thinking about walking. You didn't learn to speak by studying language theories. You learned by doing it by stumbling, by sounding wrong, by falling, by getting up again. Action has always been your greatest teacher. The problem is that as people grow older, they start fearing the very process that once taught them everything. They want guarantees before effort, results before commitment, and assurance before sacrifice. But life doesn't work that way. Purpose doesn't work that way. Purpose hides inside effort. It waits inside attempt. It lives inside motion. When you act even perfectly, you send a signal to your future that you're ready to receive direction. Action creates feedback, and feedback creates awareness. Awareness creates adjustment, and adjustment creates progress. That entire chain begins with one decision: move. Waiting convinces you that you need more information. Action teaches you what information actually matters. Waiting tells you to be careful. Action teaches you to be capable. Waiting promises comfort. Action delivers transformation. The longer you wait, the more doubt grows. The more you act, the more doubt shrinks. Doubt feeds on stillness. Confidence feeds on motion. There are people right now who are less talented than you, less prepared than you, and less experienced than you, yet they are further ahead than you. Not because they were chosen, not because they were lucky, but because they started. They didn't wait to feel ready. They decided readiness would come along the way, and it did. Because readiness is not a requirement for action. Action is a requirement for readiness. You might be afraid of making the wrong move, but there's something far worse than making the wrong move, and that's making no move at all. A wrong step teaches you something. A missed attempt strengthens you. A failed effort sharpens you. But doing nothing teaches you nothing. Doing nothing leaves you exactly where you are with the same questions, the same doubts, and the same frustration. Purpose is like a destination hidden behind fog. If you stand still, the fog never clears. But when you start walking, step by step, the fog begins to move. You don't see the whole road at once. You only see the next few steps. And that's enough because each step reveals the next. That's how direction works. That's how discovery works. That's how purpose works. You don't need to know the entire plan to take the first step. You just need courage strong enough to begin. Action is proof of belief. It tells the world, and more importantly yourself, that you trust growth more than fear. The moment you act, you separate yourself from the crowd that only talks, only wishes, only waits. Movement is a declaration. It says, I may not have all the answers, but I refuse to stay stuck with questions. Some people spend years trying to figure out what they should do with their life. They analyze, they overthink, they hesitate. They treat purpose like a puzzle that must be solved before they begin. But purpose is not a puzzle. It's a path. And paths are not understood by staring at them. They're understood by walking them. Every action you take is information. Every attempt is data. Every experience is a clue. When you act, you collect evidence about who you are, what you enjoy, what you're good at, what challenges you, what excites you, what drains you. That evidence forms a map. Without action, the map stays blank. You cannot discover yourself without expressing yourself. You cannot express yourself without moving. Perfectionism is one of the greatest enemies of purpose. It whispers that you must be flawless before you begin. It tells you that mistakes will define you. It convinces you that starting small is embarrassing. But perfectionism is a liar. It doesn't protect you. It paralyzes you. It doesn't improve you. It imprisons you. The truth is, the people who eventually do great things almost always start by doing small things badly. They improve not because they waited, but because they worked. Action builds momentum, momentum builds belief. When you do something once, it becomes easier to do it again. When you try once, trying again feels natural. Progress fuels itself. But the hardest part is always the first step, because the first step is taken without proof. Every step after that is taken with evidence. You might not know your purpose today, but you can still act today. You can learn today. You can try today. You can practice today. You can build today. And each of those actions is a seed. Seeds don't look like forests when you plant them. They look small, ordinary, almost insignificant, but inside them is something powerful, something growing, something waiting for time and effort to bring it out. Action is planting. Waiting is wishing. And wishes don't grow anything. There's no perfect moment. There is no flawless beginning. There is only now. If you wait for the perfect time, you will wait forever. Because perfection is an illusion created by fear. Life rewards movement, not hesitation. The universe responds to effort, not intention. Dreams respect discipline, not delay. Your purpose is not lost. It's not hiding from you out of cruelty. It's waiting for you to meet it halfway. It's waiting for your effort, your courage, your willingness to step into uncertainty. Purpose is not something handed to you like a gift. It's something revealed to you like a sunrise. Slowly, gradually, faithfully, but only if you stay in motion long enough to see it rise. So stop asking for clarity before commitment. Stop demanding answers before effort. Stop expecting direction while standing still. Start moving, even if your steps are small. Start trying, even if your attempts are imperfect. Start learning, even if you feel unprepared. Because every step you take is a conversation with your future, and your future is always listening for one thing: proof that you're ready. Action is that proof. Action is the key. Action is the bridge between who you are and who you're meant to become. And the moment you decide to move, you will realize something powerful. Purpose was never ahead of you or behind you. It was always waiting within you, ready to reveal itself the second you chose to begin. Comfort feels good, but it lies. It whispers that you're fine where you are. It tells you there's no need to stretch, no need to risk, no need to struggle. It wraps you in routine and convinces you that routine is peace. But comfort is not peace. It's sedation. It numbs your ambition, softens your hunger, and slowly convinces you to settle for less than you were created for. The danger of comfort is not that it feels bad. The danger is that it feels so good, you don't realize it's stealing your future. Every person with a calling has felt the pull of comfort. It shows up early in the morning when the alarm rings and your dreams are louder than your discipline. It shows up when opportunities demand effort and excuses offer relief. It shows up when growth requires change and familiarity begs you to stay the same. Comfort is persistent. It doesn't shout. It doesn't fight. It persuades. And persuasion is powerful because it sounds reasonable. It says, rest today. You can start tomorrow. It says, you've done enough. You deserve a break. It says, why risk failure when you can stay safe? And slowly, quietly, it turns potential into postponement. Call, on the other hand, speaks a different language. Calling does not care about convenience. It doesn't negotiate with laziness. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. Calling demands movement when you feel tired. Calling demands faith when you feel uncertain. Calling demands courage when fear tells you to sit down. Comfort once you relax. Sit down. Comfort once you relax. Calling once you're ready. Comfort once you're satisfied. Calling once you're stretched. These two forces cannot lead your life at the same time. One will always silence the other. The question is not which one exists. The question is which one you listen to. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they become loyal to comfort. They build routines that require little effort, little risk, little growth. Days become predictable. Weeks become repetitive. Years become identical. And eventually they look back, wondering where their passion went, where their excitement went, where their dreams went. But nothing disappeared. They traded them for comfort, one decision at a time. Comfort convinces you that small compromises don't matter. It tells you skipping one effort won't change anything. It tells you delaying one opportunity won't hurt. It tells you avoiding one challenge won't affect your future. But life is not shaped by one decision. It is shaped by pattern. And comfort's greatest weapon is turning small delays into permanent habits. What you do occasionally has influence. What you do consistently has power. When comfort becomes consistent, purpose becomes distant. Calling lies outside your comfort zone. It waits in the unfamiliar, the uncertain, the demanding. It hides inside challenges that test you, tasks that stretch you, and responsibilities that intimidate you. Calling requires growth, and growth requires pressure. Just like muscles must resist weight to become stronger, your character must resist ease to become greater. Without resistance, strength never develops. Without challenge, purpose never appears. The truth many people avoid is that comfort is easy to choose because it requires nothing from you. No discipline, no sacrifice, no courage. It accepts you exactly as you are and asks you to stay that way. Calling is harder because it requires everything from you. It demands your effort, your patience, your persistence, your willingness to endure discomfort for something meaningful. Comfort says a stay. Calling says arise. Comfort says a relax. Calling says a prepare. Comfort says a later. Calling says a now. There's a reason growth feels uncomfortable. Discomfort is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're expanding. Every time you step beyond what's familiar, your mind stretches. Your skills sharp. Your perspective widens. Discomfort is the training ground where ordinary people become extraordinary. But if you run from discomfort, you run from discomfort, you run from development. If you avoid pressure, you avoid progress. Comfort is attractive. but it's also limited. It builds a soft life and a small future. Think about the moments when you grew the most. They probably weren't the easiest seasons of your life. They were the moments that tested you, stretched you, forced you to adapt. Hard seasons produce strong people. Easy seasons produce comfortable people. And while comfort might feel good today, strength is what carries you tomorrow. Calling doesn't ask whether you feel like showing up. It asks whether you're willing to show up anyway. It doesn't ask whether the work is easy. It asks whether the work is meaningful. It doesn't ask whether the path is smooth. It asks whether the destination is worth it. Calling is not interested in your excuses. It is interested in your commitment. And commitment always costs something: time, energy, effort. Focus, sacrifice. These are the prices comfort tries to convince you not to pay. But anything valuable demands investment. A life of purpose is never built on a foundation of ease. Comfort keeps you entertained. Calling keeps you evolving. Comfort distracts you with temporary pleasure. Calling directs you toward lasting fulfillment. One feeds your feelings. The other feeds your future. And the choice between them is made daily, not once. Every morning you choose whether to lean into effort or sink into ease. Every decision either strengthens your discipline or strengthens your delay. People often say they're waiting for motivation. Motivation rarely visits those who live in comfort. Motivation meets movement. It appears when you start, not before. Action creates energy. Effort creates clarity. Progress creates excitement. Comfort does the opposite. It drains urgency. It weakens intention. It replaces ambition with amusement. The longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to leave. Not because you can't leave, but because comfort makes you forget why you should. Your call is bigger than your comfort. It has to be. Because a small purpose wouldn't require growth. A small destiny wouldn't require courage. The size of your assignment determines the size of the challenge. And if your calling is great, discomfort will be part of your journey. Not as punishment, but as preparation. Discomfort trains you for what comfort never could. It builds endurance. It builds focus. It builds resilience. These qualities are not born in ease. They are forged in effort. There comes a moment in life when you must decide whether you want to feel good or become great. Feeling good is immediate. Becoming great is gradual. Feeling good is easy. Becoming great is earned. Feeling good requires comfort. Becoming great requires calling. One gives you temporary relief. The other gives you lasting purpose. You don't have to hate comfort to leave it. You just have to want your calling more. Desire is stronger than ease when you let it be. Vision is stronger than fear when you focus on it. Purpose is stronger than temptation when you commit to it. The problem isn't that comfort exists. The problem is when comfort becomes your master instead of your servant. Comfort should be something you visit, not somewhere you live. Growth begins the moment you choose effort over ease. The moment you choose discipline over distraction. The moment you choose purpose over pleasure. Those moments may feel small, but they are powerful. Because every time you reject comfort for the sake of your calling, you strengthen the part of you that refuses to settle. And that part of you is the part that changes your life. One day you will look back and realize that the hardest choices you made were the most valuable ones. The early mornings, the late nights, the risks, the struggles, the persistence when quitting would have been easier. Those will be the moments that defined you, not the comfortable days, not the easy season. Not the times you stayed safe. The moments that shaped you will be the moments that stretched you. Comfort is not evil. It is simply dangerous when it becomes your priority. Rest is necessary. Peace is valuable. Stillness has its place. But none of those things should replace your pursuit of purpose. They should support it. Comfort should recharge you for your calling, not replace it. It should prepare you for the journey, not become the destination. So when you feel the pull of ease, remember what's at stake. Remember who you can become. Remember what you're capable of. Remember that your calling is waiting on the other side of effort. And remind yourself that comfort may feel safe, but safety has never built a legacy. Growth has, courage has, commitment has. The truth is simple but powerful. Comfort will always invite you, but calling will always challenge you. One will keep you the same. The other will change your life. And every single day, whether you realize it or not, you answer one question with your actions. Will you choose the path that feels easy or the path that makes you extraordinary? Stop chasing money as if it is the finish line of your existence. Because if money is the only thing you pursue, you may one day reach it and still feel like you lost. So many people organize their entire lives around a number. They wake up calculating it, work obsessing over it, compare themselves using it, and measure their worth by it. They think if they can just earn more, have more, stack more, then they will finally feel satisfied. But money is a tool, not a purpose. It is a resource, not a reason. And when you confuse a resource for a reason, you end up running hard in a direction that was never meant to fulfill you. Money can buy comfort, but it cannot buy meaning. It can purchase a house, but it cannot build a home. It can pay for attention, but it cannot create respect. It can fund pleasure, but it cannot produce purpose. Meaning comes from something deeper, something richer, something that cannot be printed, counted, or deposited. Meaning comes from knowing that what you do matters, that who you are becoming has value, and that your effort is connected to something greater than temporary gain. The world constantly tells you to chase money. It celebrates wealth loudly and questions purpose quietly. It puts luxury on display and hides fulfillment in the background. Everywhere you look, you see people being praised for what they have rather than who they are. And if you're not careful, you start believing that accumulation is the same as achievement. But accumulation only fills your hand. Meaning fills your heart. And a full hand with an empty heart is still a life that feels lacking. When money is your only target, you start making decisions based solely on profit instead of purpose. You begin choosing paths because they pay well rather than because they fit you well. You start saying yes to opportunities that drain you and know the ones that grow you. You sacrifice peace for paychecks, passion for position, calling for comfort. At first, it seems logical. It seems responsible. It seems practical. But slowly, something inside you begins to fade. Your excitement weakens. Your curiosity shrinks. Your drive becomes mechanical. You work, but you don't feel alive while working. You succeed, but you don't feel successful. Meaning works differently. Meaning energizes you. It pulls you forward instead of needing to push you. It makes effort feel worthwhile and sacrifice feel sensible. When you chase meaning, you don't just count hours, you value them. You don't just finish tasks, you believe in them. You don't just earn, you grow. Meaning transforms work from obligation into expression. It turns labor into contribution. It turns activity into impact. People who chase only money often live in constant comparison. They measure themselves against other salaries, lifestyles, and possession. They feel ahead when someone has less and behind when someone has more. Their satisfaction becomes fragile because it depends on external numbers they can't fully control. But when you chase meaning, comparison loses its power. You stop asking, do I have more than them? And start asking, am I becoming more than I was? That shift changes everything because growth is always within your reach, while comparison is always unstable. Money is not evil. It is useful, necessary, and valuable. The problem is not money itself. The problem is when money becomes your master instead of your servant. When money is your master, it dictates your choices, controls your priorities, and defines your identity. When money is your servant, it supports your mission, funds your vision, and amplifies your impact. The difference is not in how much you have, but in what role it plays in your life. Meaning gives you endurance that money never can. If you work only for a paycheck, your motivation disappears the moment the reward feels insufficient. But if you work for meaning, you keep going even when rewards are delayed because your drive is internal, not external. Meaning is a deeper fuel. It burns longer. It burns steadier. It burns stronger. It keeps you moving when applause is silent and results are slow. There will be moments when chasing meaning looks foolish to people who only understand money. They may question your choices. They may doubt your direction. They may wonder why you would choose a path that requires more effort, more patience, or more uncertainty. But they cannot see what you feel. They cannot see the fulfillment that comes from alignment. They cannot see the fire that purpose lights inside you. They see risk. You see reason. They see sacrifice. You see significance. A life built only on money can look impressive from the outside and still feel empty on the inside. Appearances can be decorated while souls remain dissatisfied. But a light built on meaning radiates something different. It carries depth. It carries conviction. It carries a quiet confidence that doesn't depend on approval. Because when you know your life matters, you don't need constant reminders from the world. You feel it in your spirit. You see it in your growth. You recognize it in your impact. Meaning also outlasts money. Money can be lost, spent, stolen, or devalued. Meaning cannot. Meaning stays with you regardless of circumstances. It remains when conditions change. It stands when possessions disappear. It endures because it is rooted in purpose, not property. When storms come, and they always do, it is meaning that keeps you steady. Money might solve a problem, but meaning gives you strength. Chasing meaning requires courage because it often asks you to choose long-term fulfillment over short-term reward. It asks you to invest in growth instead of comfort. It asks you to build something lasting instead of something flashy. These choices are not always easy. They demand patience. They demand faith. They demand resilience. But they also produce something priceless, a life that feels authentic. Authenticity is powerful. When you live with meaning, you don't feel like you're pretending. You don't feel like you're performing. You don't feel like you're wearing a mask just to survive. You feel aligned. Your actions match your values. Your work reflects your identity. Your path represents your truth. And that alignment creates peace that money alone can never purchase. Many people spend years chasing money only to realize later that what they really wanted was meaning. They look back and wish they had invested more time in what mattered, more energy in what fulfilled them, more attention in what grew them. Regret often comes not from failing to earn more, but from failing to live more. And living more is always connected to meaning. Meaning is found in contribution. It lives in the difference you make, the lives you touch, the problems you solve, the growth you create. When your work helps someone, strengthens someone, inspires someone, or improves something, you feel a sense of significance that no paycheck can replace. Contribution reminds you that your existence is not random. It shows you that your presence has purpose. If you chase meaning, money can still come. But if you chase only money, meaning rarely follows. Because meaning is attracted to intention, not obsession. It grows where passion is present. It flourishes where purpose is prioritized. Money may arrive as a byproduct of value, but meaning arrives as a result of alignment. And alignment is something you choose, not something you purchase. You don't have to reject money to chase meaning. You simply have to put them in the right order. Seek purpose first and let profit support it. Build value first and let income reflect it. Develop yourself first and let rewards follow. When meaning leads, money becomes a partner. When money leads, meaning becomes a casualty. Your life is too valuable to spend chasing something that cannot satisfy your soul. You were not created just to earn. You were created to matter. There is something you can do, something you can build, something you can give that no one else can offer in quite the same way. That uniqueness is where your meaning lives. That contribution is where your fulfillment grows. That purpose is where your real wealth begins. At the end of your life, the question will not be how much you accumulated. It will be how much you impacted. It will not be how impressive your income was. It will be how meaningful your existence was. Because numbers may impress people temporarily, but meaning touches lives permanently. And touching lives is the kind of success that never loses its value. So stop running after money as if it is the prize at the end of the race. Start running after meaning as if it is the reason you're in the race at all. Let purpose guide you. Let impact drive you. Let growth shape you. Because when you chase meaning, you don't just build a living, you build a life. And a life filled with meaning will always be richer than a life filled only with money. Pain is something most people try to avoid, escape, or numb. The moment it shows up, they assume something is wrong. They interpret struggle as a sign they should stop, difficulty as a signal they should turn around, and discomfort as proof they're not meant for the path they're on. But pain does not always mean you're off track. Sometimes pain is the clearest sign that you're on the right road, moving in the right direction, becoming the person you were meant to become. Pain is not always punishment. When your purpose is clear, pain becomes preparation. The difference lies in understanding why you're hurting. Pain without purpose feels meaningless. It drains you, frustrates you, and makes you question everything. But pain with purpose transforms into fuel. It sharpens your focus. It strengthens your endurance. It deepens your commitment. When you know why you're pushing, why you're sacrificing, why you're enduring, the pain stops feeling like suffering and starts feeling like training. Suddenly, the struggle has context. Suddenly, the hardship has direction. Suddenly, the pressure has value. Now, think about an athlete in training. The burning muscles, the exhaustion, the repetition, the soreness, none of that feels pleasant. But the athlete doesn't interpret that pain as harm. They interpret it as growth. They understand that every ache is evidence of progress. Every strain is proof of development. Every drop of sweat is a deposit toward victory. The same principle applies to life. When you understand your purpose, your struggles stop looking like obstacles and start looking like preparation sessions for the future you're building. Many people quit not because they lack ability, but because they misunderstand pain. They assume difficulty means they're failing. They assume resistance means they're not good enough. They assume challenges mean they should stop. But resistance is part of refinement. Pressure is part of progress. Heat is part of transformation. Gold is purified in fire, not in comfort. Strength is built under tension, not in ease. Character is formed through testing, not through convenience. When purpose is unclear, pain feels pointless. It feels random, unfair, and discouraging. That's why clarity is powerful. Clarity gives pain meaning. It tells you why the struggle is necessary. It reminds you what the sacrifice is for. It shows you the destination beyond the difficulty. Without that vision, pain feels like punishment. With that vision, pain feels like preparation. Preparation is rarely comfortable. Preparation stretches you beyond your current limits. It demands patience when you want results. It demands persistence when you want relief. It demands faith when you want proof. Preparation is not designed to be easy because easy doesn't build capacity. Easy doesn't expand endurance. Easy doesn't deepen resilience. Preparation is demanding because your future assignment requires strength your present self doesn't yet have. Pain is the training ground where that strength is built. Consider how growth works in every area of life. Learning a new skill is frustrating before it becomes fluid. Building discipline is exhausting before it becomes natural. Developing confidence is awkward before it becomes effortless. Every improvement process includes discomfort at the beginning. That discomfort is not a barrier, it is a bridge. It connects who you are today with who you're capable of becoming tomorrow. Pain also reveals commitment. Anyone can stay when things are easy. Anyone can continue when results are immediate. Anyone can push forward when the road is smooth. But when pain enters the picture, only those who are serious remain. Pain filters out the half-hearted. It exposes whether your desire is real or temporary. It asks a question no words can answer. How badly do you want this? If your purpose is weak, pain will stop you. If your purpose is strong, pain will strengthen you. That's why defining your why is so important. Your reason must be bigger than your discomfort. Your vision must be stronger than your fear. Your commitment must be deeper than your doubts. When your why is powerful, pain loses its power to break you. Instead, it becomes the force that builds you. There's also a hidden gift inside pain, awareness. Pain shows you where you need to grow. It exposes weaknesses you didn't know you had. It highlights habits that must change. It points out limits that must be stretched. Without pain, you might never notice the areas of your life that need development. Pain is feedback. It tells you what needs attention, what needs improvement, what needs strengthening. And feedback is one of the most valuable tools for progress. People often pray for strength, but strength is never given without resistance. Resist the condition that produces it. Just like muscles grow by resisting weight, your character grows by resisting challenge. Pain is that resistance. It pushes against you so you can push beyond yourself. It confronts you so you can conquer more than you thought possible. It tests you so you can trust your own resilience. When you begin to see pain as preparation, your mindset changes. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? You stop seeing struggle as an enemy and start seeing it as an instructor. You stop running from difficulty and start learning from it. That shift in perspective changes everything. Because your interpretation of pain determines your response to it. If you see it as punishment, you'll avoid it. If you see it as preparation, you'll use it. Preparation always precedes promotion. Before you ride, you're refined. Before you lead, you're tested. Before you succeed, you're stretched. The preparation stage is where most people give up because they misread it. They think the pressure means they're not meant for greatness, when in reality, the pressure is proof they're being shaped for it. Diamonds don't form without pressure. Steel doesn't strengthen without heat. And purpose doesn't develop without challenge. Pain also builds gratitude. When you struggle, you appreciate progress more. When you've endured difficulty, you value peace more. When you fought for something, you respect it more. Easy victories are quickly forgotten. Hard-earned victories are never forgotten. Pain adds depth to your story. It gives meaning to your success. It reminds you of how far you've come, how strong you've become. None of this means pain is pleasant. It doesn't mean struggle is fun. It doesn't mean hardship is easy. Pain is still pain. It still tests you. It still stretches you. It still demands effort. But when your purpose is clear, you understand that the pain is temporary while the growth is permanent. You realize that what hurts today can help you tomorrow. You recognize that what challenges you now can change you forever. Your purpose is like a destination that requires you to travel through rough terrain. The terrain may be rocky. The climb may be steep. The journey may be exhausting. But every step, even the difficult ones, is moving you closer. The pain you feel along the way is not proof you should stop. It's proof you're climbing. And climbing always requires effort. Some of the strongest, wisest, most resilient people in the world were not strong because life was easy for them. They're strong because life was hard and they refused to break. They chose to learn instead of quit. They chose to grow instead of complain. They chose to endure instead of escape. Pain became their teacher, their trainer, their builder. It prepared them for responsibilities they once weren't ready to carry. You are capable of the same transformation. The pain you face today might be shaping skills you'll need tomorrow. The struggle you endure now might be strengthening quality your future depends on. The difficulty you're experiencing might be preparing you for opportunity you can't yet see. Nothing is wasted when purpose is involved. Every challenge becomes a lesson. Every setback becomes a setup. Every hardship becomes training. So when pain shows up, don't panic. Look at it differently. Ask what is building in you. Ask what is preparing you for. Ask how it can strengthen rather than stop you. Because the moment you understand that pain is preparation, you stop fearing it and start using it. And when you start using it, pain loses its ability to defeat you and gains the power to develop you. In the end, the people who fulfill their purpose are not the ones who avoided pain. They are the ones who understood it, endured it, and grew through it. They realized that pain was never their enemy. It was their trainer. It was the process that shaped them into the person capable of carrying the purpose they were destined to fulfill. Purpose is not something that gives rewards immediately. It does not rush to hand you results the moment you decide to pursue it. Instead, it watches you. It observes your patience, your commitment, your willingness to endure when there's no applause, no recognition, and no visible progress. Purpose demands sacrifice before it delivers reward, because sacrifice is proof that you are serious. Anyone can say they want something meaningful, but only those willing to give something up for it show that they truly mean it. Words can express desire, but sacrifice demonstrates devotion. Sacrifice is uncomfortable because it asks you to release something you enjoy, something you're used to, or something that feels safe. It may ask for your time, your energy, your habits, your sleep, your distractions, or even certain relationships that hold you back. It demands that you trade temporary pleasure for lasting progress. Most people like the idea of purpose, but they hesitate when they see the price. They want the reward without the requirement, the outcome without the offering, the victory without the discipline. But purpose does not negotiate with hesitation. It responds only to commitment. When you choose purpose, you are choosing a path that will stretch you. That stretching is the sacrifice. It is the moment you wake up earlier than you want to because your goals matter more than your comfort. It is the decision to keep working when others are resting because your vision matters more than your convenience. It is the discipline to stay focused when distractions call your name because your future matters more than your feeling. These moments may look small to others, but they are powerful. They are the daily payments you make toward a meaningful life. Sacrifice is often misunderstood as loss, but in reality, it is investment. When you sacrifice something for your purpose, you are not losing it. You are exchanging it for something greater. You give up distractions to gain direction. You give up ease to gain strength. You give up fear to gain growth. The exchange is not always immediate, which is why many people quit too soon. They expect instant results, instant recognition and reward. But purpose works on a deeper timeline. It builds slowly, steadily, intentionally. It shapes you before it showcases you. It prepares you before it promotes you. Preparation is where sacrifice does its greatest work. It molds your character. It strengthens your patience. It deepens your focus. It teaches you endurance. These qualities cannot be downloaded instantly or purchased easily. They must be developed through experience, effort, and persistence. Sacrifice is the training ground where these traits are formed. Without sacrifice, purpose would place you in positions you are not ready to handle. Without sacrifice, success would arrive before strength, and without strength, success would collapse. Many people see someone achieving something great and assume the reward came easily. They see the result, but not the process. They see the highlight, but not the hardship. They see the recognition, but not the sacrifice. They don't see the hours of practice when nobody was watching, the nights of effort when nobody was cheering, the moments of doubt that had to be conquered in silence. Reward is visible. Sacrifice is hidden. But what is hidden is often what matters most, because it is the unseen effort that creates the seen outcome. Purpose tests you with sacrifice because it wants to know whether you are committed or merely interested. Interest is temporary. Commitment is enduring. Interest shows up when it's convenient. Commitment shows up no matter what. Interest works when it feels like it. Commitment works because it promised it would. Purpose is too important to trust to someone who is only interested. It entrusts itself to those who are committed. And commitment is proven through sacrifice. Sacrifice also builds clarity. When you give something up for your purpose, you remind yourself why that purpose matters. Each sacrifice reinforces your focus. Each decision strengthens your direction. Each act of discipline confirms your dedication. Over time, those choices shape your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying. You begin seeing yourself as someone who is becoming. And that shift is powerful because identity drives behavior. When you believe you are someone who pursues purpose, your actions naturally align with that belief. There will be moments when sacrifice feels heavy, moments when you question whether it's worth it, moments when it seems like you're giving more than you're receiving. Those are the moments when purpose is testing your persistence, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because if you can stay faithful when results are invisible, you will be ready when results are undeniable. The delay is not denial. The wait is not wasted. The process is not pointless. It's shaping you into someone capable of sustaining what you are pursuing. Reward without sacrifice often leads to pride without foundation. But reward after sacrifice leads to confidence with depth. When you know what you endured to reach a certain level, you appreciate it more. You protect it more. You handle it better. Sacrifice teaches you the value of what you gain. It reminds you that nothing meaningful came easily, and because of that, nothing meaningful should be treated lightly. Purpose is not impressed by speed. It is impressed by consistency. It is not concerned with how quickly you start, but with how faithfully you continue. Sacrifice is what makes continuation possible. It builds discipline into your routine and resilience into your mindset. It trains you to keep going when excitement fades and motivation weakens. Because excitement is temporary, but commitment is durable. Motivation fluctuates, but discipline stabilizes. Sacrifice strengthens discipline, and discipline sustains progress. Sometimes sacrifice means saying no to things others say yes to. No to distractions that waste your time. No to habits that weaken your focus. No to opportunities that don't align with your direction. Saying no can feel difficult, especially when those things look appealing. But every no you say to what distracts you becomes a yes you say to what defines you. And what defines you will always matter more than what distracts you. Sacrifice also reveals what truly matters to you. What you are willing to give up shows what you value most. If your purpose is real, you will protect it. You will prioritize it. You will make room for it even when life feels crowded. That willingness is what separates casual desire from genuine dedication. Anyone can admire purpose. Few are willing to pay the price for it. But those who do are the ones who eventually experience reward. Reward is not always money, applause, or recognition. Sometimes the greatest reward is growth. Sometimes it is the strength you developed, the wisdom you gained, the confidence you built, the resilience you formed. Those rewards cannot be taken from you because they are part of you. They stay with you wherever you go. External rewards may come and go, but internal rewards remain. And often, it's the internal rewards that make the external ones possible. Purpose gives its greatest rewards to those who prove they can handle them. That proof comes through sacrifice. It comes through the days you worked when you felt tired, the moments you persisted when progress seemed slow, the times you stayed focused when distractions were loud. Each of those moments was shaping you. Each of those sacrifices was strengthening you. Each of those decisions was preparing you. There is something powerful about earning what you receive. When you know the cost, you understand the value. When you know the struggle, you respect the success. When you know the sacrifice, you appreciate the reward. That appreciation changes how you carry your achievements. It makes you grateful instead of arrogant, grounded instead of careless, wise instead of reckless. Sacrifice doesn't just prepare you to reach your purpose. It prepares you to keep it. Many people give up because they mistake the sacrifice stage for failure. They think that because it's hard, it's not working. But difficulty is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of growth. The very fact that something requires effort means it is stretching you. And stretching is how you expand. Expansion is how you evolve. Evolution is how you step into your purpose. If you want something meaningful, you must be willing to give something meaningful. That is the exchange life requires. The greater the purpose, the greater the sacrifice. Not because life is unfair, but because greatness requires capacity, and capacity must be built. Sacrifice is how it's built. It strengthens your patience, sharpens your focus, deepens your determination, and prepares your spirit. One day the reward will arrive. Maybe not when you expect it. Maybe not how you imagine it, but it will come. And when it does, you will understand why the sacrifice was necessary. You will see how every difficult moment shaped you. You will realize how every disciplined decision prepared you. You will recognize that nothing you gave up was wasted. It was all part of the process. Purpose always pays, but it pays in proportion to what you invested. And the investment it requires most is sacrifice. Because sacrifice is not proof that you are losing something. It's proof that you are building something. Comparison is one of the quietest ways a person can lose sight of their calling. It doesn't arrive loudly or dramatically. It slips in silently, disguising itself as observation, curiosity, or even motivation. At first, it seems harmless. You look at what someone else is doing, what someone else has achieved, how fast someone else is progressing. But slowly, without you noticing, comparison begins to shift your focus away from your own path and onto theirs. In the moment your eyes stay fixed on someone else's journey, you start drifting away from your own purpose. Every person has a calling that is uniquely theirs. Not similar, not identical, not replaceable. Your calling is shaped by your experiences, your struggles, your strengths, your perspective, and your passion. It is designed specifically for you, which means it cannot be measured accurately against anyone else's. Comparison ignores that truth. It pretends all journeys are the same and all timelines are equal, but they're not. When you compare your progress to someone else's, you're comparing two different stories, two different starting points, and two different stymens. That's like judging a sunrise for not looking like a sunset. Both are beautiful, but they serve different purposes. Comparison kills calling because it shifts your attention from progress to fresh. Instead of asking, am I growing? You start asking, am I ahead? Instead of focusing on improvement, you focus on position. And position is unstable because there will always be someone ahead of you in something. If your sense of worth depends on being ahead of others, you will constantly feel behind. But your calling was never about outrunning others. It was about becoming who you were meant to be. The danger of comparison is that it distorts your perception. It makes you see someone else's highlight while you're living your behind the scene. You see their results, not their struggles. You see their success, not their sacrifices. You see their outcome, not their obstacles. And when you compare your everyday reality to someone else's highlight moments, you create an illusion that they have it easier, faster, or better than you. That illusion can discourage you, even though it's incomplete. What you're seeing is not their full story. It's just a visible chapter. Calling requires focus. It requires attention directed toward your growth, your development, your steps forward. But comparison steals that focus. It distracts you with someone else's lane. Imagine trying to run a race while constantly turning your head to watch the runners beside you. Not only would you slow down, you risk losing balance altogether. That's what comparison does. It interrupts your rhythm. It breaks your concentration. It weakens your momentum. Another way comparison destroys calling is by making you doubt your uniqueness. You start wondering whether what you have to offer is valuable enough, original enough, impressive enough. You begin questioning your abilities not because they're insufficient, but because someone else's abilities are different. Instead of appreciating your strengths, you start minimizing them. Instead of developing your gifts, you start wishing for someone else's. And the moment you wish you were someone else, you stop fully becoming yourself. That is how comparison quietly erases potential. Your calling doesn't need you to be someone else. It needs you to be fully you. The world doesn't benefit when you imitate another person's path. It benefits when you walk your own. Authenticity is powerful because it carries something imitation never can: originality. When you stop comparing and start embracing your individuality, you unlock creativity, confidence, and clarity. You begin making decisions based on purpose instead of pressure. You start building a life that fits you instead of chasing one that only impresses others. Comparison also breeds impatience. When you see someone else achieving something quickly, you may feel like you're falling behind. You may feel rushed, pressured to speed up, tempted to skip steps. But growth is not meant to be rushed. Every stage has a purpose. Foundations must be laid before structures can rise. Skills must be practiced before mastery appears. Character must be built before responsibility increases. When you rush your process because you're comparing it to someone else's timeline, you risk weakening your foundation. And a weak foundation cannot support a strong future. Calling is not a competition. It is a commitment. It's not about being better than someone else. It is about being better than you were yesterday. The only comparison that strengthens you is the comparison between your past self and your present self. That comparison shows growth. That comparison reveals progress. That comparison fuels motivation. But comparing yourself to others often produces the opposite. It creates envy, insecurity, and doubt. Those emotions drain energy you could have used to build your purpose. Comparison also blinds you to your own blessings. When you focus on what others have, you stop appreciating what you have. Gratitude fades. Satisfaction weakens. Joy shrinks. You become so aware of what's missing that you overlook what's present. But gratitude is fuel for progress. It gives you the emotional strength to keep moving forward. When comparison replaces gratitude, motivation fades because you feel like nothing you do is enough. That mindset can trap you in frustration instead of growth. The truth is, someone else's success does not reduce your potential. Someone else's progress does not delay your destiny. Someone else's achievement does not cancel your calling. There is space for more than one person to succeed. There is room for more than one story to ride. Life is not a limited stage where only a few can shine. It is a wide landscape filled with opportunities for those willing to walk their path faithfully. Calling thrives in focus, patience, and self-awareness. Comparison weakens all three. It divides your focus, shortens your patience, and distorts your self-awareness. That's why guarding your attention is so important. What you constantly look at influences how you constantly feel. If you constantly watch others, you will constantly question yourself. But if you consistently focus on your own growth, you will steadily build confidence. When you stop comparing, something powerful happens. You start noticing your progress. You begin appreciating your improvement. You recognize your strengths. You celebrate your wins, even the small ones. That celebration builds momentum. Momentum builds belief. Belief builds persistence. And persistence is what keeps you moving when the journey becomes difficult. Your calling is not validated by how it compares to someone else. It is validated by how faithfully you pursue it. Success is not measured by similarity. It is measured by authenticity. The question is not whether your path looks like theirs. The question is whether your path aligns with who you are meant to become. Alignment brings peace. Comparison brings pressure. Alignment brings clarity. Comparison brings confusion. Think about how much energy comparison consumes. The time spent analyzing others, worrying about others, measuring against others. All of that energy could have been invested in improving yourself. Attention is one of your most valuable resources. Wherever you direct it, growth follows. If you direct it toward comparison, Insecurity grows. If you direct it toward development, confidence grows. Calling requires courage. And part of that courage is the willingness to walk your path even when it looks different from everyone else. Different does not mean wrong. Slow does not mean failing. Quiet does not mean insignificant. Unique does not mean inadequate. These truths become clear only when you stop measuring your life against someone else's ruler. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not late. You are not less. You are on a path that was designed specifically for you, with lessons specifically for you, and timing specifically for you. Trusting that path requires faith in your journey. And faith cannot grow where comparison lives. Comparison constantly whispers that you're not enough. Calling constantly reminds you that you are capable. One voice weakens you. The other strengthens you. The voice you listen to determines the direction you move. In the end, comparison doesn't just steal joy. It steals direction. It pulls you away from your purpose and pushes you toward imitation. But imitation can never fulfill you the way authenticity can. You were not created to copy someone else's story. You were created to write your own. And the moment you stop comparing and start committing to your path, you take back control of your focus, your growth, and your future. Your calling needs your attention more than it needs your talent. Talent helps, but attention builds. Attention strengthens, attention develops. And comparison is the fastest way to lose that attention. So guard your focus, protect your mindset, stay in your lane, grow at your pace. Build your life with intention, because the more you compare, the more you drift. And the more you drift, the further you move from the purpose that was meant only for you. Movement creates clarity in a way that thinking alone never can. Many people spend years inside their own mind, analyzing, planning, imagining, worrying, and calculating every possible outcome before they take a single step. They convince themselves that once they understand everything, once they feel completely certain, once every doubt disappears, they will finally move. But certainty rarely comes before action. In fact, it almost never does. Clarity is not something you wait for. It is something you generate. And the only way to generate it is through movement. When you stay still, your thoughts circle endlessly. Questions multiply. Doubts grow louder. Possibilities become overwhelming. Your mind begins creating scenarios that may never happen, problems that may never exist, and fears that have no real foundation. Overthinking feels productive because your mind is busy, but activity in your head is not the same as progress in your life. You can think about a path forever and still never know where it leads until you actually start walking it. Movement is what transforms imagination into understanding. Action has a way of revealing what planning cannot. When you move, reality responds. You learn what works and what doesn't. You discover strengths you didn't know you had and weaknesses you didn't know you needed to improve. You gain feedback, and feedback is one of the greatest sources of clarity. Without action, you're guessing. With action, you're learning. Guessing keeps you uncertain. Learning makes you wiser. And wisdom brings direction. The reason movement creates clarity is because life is experiential, not theoretical. You don't truly understand something until you experience it. You can read about swimming, study techniques, and watch demonstrations, but until you step into the water, you won't really know how it feels or how to do it. The same principle applies to your purpose, your goals, and your growth. Experience teaches lessons that theory cannot. Movement gives you that experience. Many people are afraid to move because they think they must choose the perfect direction first. They believe a wrong step will ruin everything. But there is no such thing as a perfect first step. Every step teaches you something. Even the ones that don't lead where you expected still give you knowledge you didn't have before. A step that teaches you what doesn't work is not a wasted step. It is a clarifying step. It removes confusion. It narrows your focus. It brings you closer to understanding what does work. Stillness keeps you guessing. Movement gives you evidence. Evidence replaces doubt because it is based on reality instead of assumption. Once you experience something firsthand, your perspective changes. What once felt confusing begins to make sense. What once seemed impossible begins to look achievable. What once appeared intimidating begins to feel manageable. That transformation doesn't happen through thought alone. It happens through action. Movement also builds confidence, and confidence strengthens clarity. When you act, you prove to yourself that you can handle challenges, adapt to obstacles, and learn from mistakes. That proof quiets fear. And when fear quiets, your mind becomes clearer. Fear clouds judgment. Confidence sharpens it. Action reduces fear because it replaces imagination with experience. Instead of wondering what might happen, you start seeing what actually happens. Reality is almost always easier to navigate than imagination. Clarity is not a lightning bolt that suddenly appears out of nowhere. It's more like a sunrise that gradually brightens as you move forward. At first, you may only see a small portion of the road ahead, but that small portion is enough to take the next step. And once you take that step, you see a little more. Then a little more, then a little more, then a little more. Step by step, your vision expands. Movement doesn't show you the entire path at once. It reveals it piece by piece, but that is all you need. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting until they feel completely ready before they begin. Readiness is not a requirement for movement. Movement is what creates readiness. You become ready by starting. You become capable by trying. You become skilled by practicing. Waiting to feel ready is like waiting to feel strong before you exercise. Strength comes because you exercise, not before. In the same way, clarity comes because you move, not before. Movement also exposes what truly matters to you. When you take action, you begin to notice what energizes you and what drains you, what excites you and what bores you, what aligns with you and what doesn't. These realizations are incredibly valuable because they guide your direction. Without movement, you never gather that information. You remain unsure, not because your path doesn't exist, but because you haven't stepped far enough to see it. Another reason movement creates clarity is that it forces decisions. When you act, you must choose. You must respond. You must adjust. Those choices sharpen your awareness. They train your judgment. They strengthen your ability to recognize opportunities and avoid distractions. Decision-making is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Movement exercises that muscle daily, and a strong decision-making ability leads to a clearer sense of direction. There is also something powerful about momentum. Once you start moving, it becomes easier to keep moving. Momentum carries you forward even on days when motivation feels low. And as momentum builds, clarity grows alongside it. You begin to see patterns. You recognize progress. You understand what steps produce results. That understanding makes your next decisions more confident and more precise. Staying still, on the other hand, often creates the illusion that you're stuck. But you're not always stuck because you lack direction. Sometimes you feel stuck because you lack motion. Movement breaks that illusion. Even a small step can shift your perspective. Even a small action can change your mindset. Progress doesn't have to be dramatic to be meaningful. Small steps still move you forward. And forward is always better than frozen. Movement also teaches resilience. When you act, you encounter challenges. Those challenges test you, but they also train you. They show you how to adapt, how to persist, how to overcome. Each challenge you face makes the next one easier to handle. Over time, you become stronger, wiser, and more prepared. That preparation increases your confidence, and increased confidence strengthens your clarity. It's important to understand that movement doesn't always mean speed. You don't have to rush. You don't have to sprint. You don't have to sprint. You don't have to have everything figured out. Movement simply means you are not standing still. It means you are learning, trying, adjusting, growing. Slow movement is still movement. Careful movement is still movement. Imperfect movement is still movement. What matters is not how fast you go. What matters is that you go. Some of the greatest discoveries in life happen only after you start. You may begin with one idea and realize you're meant for something slightly different. You may start down one path and discover a new direction along the way. That is not failure. That is refinement. Movement refines your understanding. It shapes your vision. It sharpens your purpose, but none of that can happen if you refuse to begin. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what can I learn? That shift turns fear into curiosity, and curiosity fuels action. When curiosity leads, you stop worrying about being perfect and start focusing on growing. Growth naturally produces clarity because every lesson you learn lights another part of your path. You don't need a full map to start a journey. You just need the willingness to take the first step. The map reveals itself as you move. The answers appear as you act. The direction becomes clear as you progress. Movement is the language progress speaks. It tells your future that you are ready. It tells your doubts that you are determined. It tells your potential that you are willing. At the end of the day, clarity is not something that visits those who wait. It belongs to those who move. It belongs to those who try, who learn, who adjust, who continue. Because every step you take teaches you something you didn't know before. Every action you make shows you something you couldn't see before. And every moment you choose movement over hesitation, you turn uncertainty into understanding. So if you want clarity, don't wait for it, create it. Step forward even if your steps are small. Act even if your confidence is quiet. Begin even if your plan is simple. Because movement is not just progress. Movement is revelation. And the more you move, the more clearly you will see where you're meant to go. Your environment is one of the most powerful influences on your success, your mindset, and the person you become. It is the invisible force that shapes your habits, your decisions, and your beliefs. Many people underestimate how much their surroundings impact their growth. They focus on talent, effort, or luck. But the truth is that even most talented person can be held back by the wrong environment. Likewise, someone with less natural ability can thrive, grow, and achieve extraordinary results when they place themselves in an environment that pushes them forward. Your environment either elevates you or limits you. There's no middle ground. Every moment you spend in an environment that doesn't support your purpose chips away at your potential, while every moment you spend in an environment that aligns with your purpose builds it. Your environment is not just the physical space you occupy. It is also the people you surround yourself with, the media you consume, the culture you participate in, and the habits you reinforce daily. Every influence either adds to your growth or takes away from it. Positive environments challenge you, stretch you, and inspire you. They surround you with people who believe in possibilities, who demand excellence, and who model what success looks like. Negative environments do the opposite. They breed doubt, excuse-making, and comfort. They normalize mediocrity. They whisper discouragement, whether overtly or subtly. Think about the people you spend the most time with. Humans are social creatures. We absorb traits, behaviors, and beliefs from those closest to us. If you surround yourself with people who are driven, ambitious, disciplined, and relentless, you start to mirror those qualities. Their energy, mindset, and focus rub off on you. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who complain, procrastinate, and accept limitations, those behaviors also rub off on you. This is why it is often said that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your environment elevates you, your potential skyrockets. If it limits you, your potential shrinks. Your environment shapes your beliefs about what is possible. When you are consistently exposed to success, ambition, and high standards, your mind starts to accept that level as achievable. When you are surrounded by excuses, negativity, or lack of vision, your mind begins to believe that greatness is impossible for you. The stories, conversations, and expectations around you train your mind every day. They either reinforce your belief in your own potential or chip away at it. That is why awareness of your environment is not optional, it is essential. Physical spaces also matter more than people often realize. The places you spend your time either support your focus or distract you. A cluttered, chaotic space can make your mind feel cluttered and chaotic as well. A clean, organized, and purpose-driven environment can enhance your ability to think clearly, prioritize, and execute effectively. Even small details, like the type of music you play, the lighting, or the level of noise can affect your energy and focus. When you intentionally design your physical environment to support your goals, you remove friction that slows you down. When you leave it unconsidered, every distraction, every miss, every unnecessary interruption becomes a weight that limits your potential. Technology and media consumption are also part of your environment. Every app, every social media platform, every news feed, every video you watch is an input that affects your mindset. If you constantly consume content that is negative, fear-driven, or trivial, it changes your energy, your perspective, and your ambition. On the other hand, consuming content that inspires, educates and motivates you, strengthens your mindset, and keeps your purpose and focus. Awareness of what you allow into your mind is part of controlling your environment. Your mind is your most valuable asset, and your environment determines whether it thrives or deteriorates. Your environment can also limit you by normalizing mediocrity. If everyone around you is comfortable with average results, if no one challenges themselves or strives for growth, it becomes difficult for you to see a higher standard as attainable. The environment sets the baseline for what you consider normal. If normal is low expectations and minimal effort, it becomes a struggle to push beyond it. But if normal is excellence, persistence, and accountability, your standards rise and your performance naturally elevates to match. Environment also affects your emotional energy. Constant exposure to negativity, conflict, or drama drains your emotional resources. It leaves you depleted, unfocused, and reactive instead of proactive. But an environment that is supportive, motivating, and purpose-driven energizes you. It gives you emotional fuel to persevere, take risks. Challenges, energy is contagious. If the people and spaces around you are alive with possibility, you absorb that energy. If they are filled with complaints and excuses, you absorb that too. It is not always easy to change your environment, especially if it involves relationships, jobs, or community you've been part of for a long time. But if your purpose is important, the change is necessary. The first step is awareness. Identify what in your environment elevates you and what limits you. Pay attention to your energy levels, motivation, and clarity after interactions or experiences. Notice which situations inspire action and which induce complacency or doubt. Awareness allows you to make intentional choices about where to spend your time, whom to engage with, and what to consume mentally and emotionally. Sometimes changing your environment requires difficult decisions. You may have to distance yourself from people you care about, but who consistently pull you down. You may have to leave jobs, communities, or routines that no longer serve your growth. You may have to reorganize your day, eliminate distractions, or adjust your surroundings. Those choices can feel uncomfortable, even isolating, but they are necessary for anyone committed to living their purpose. Remember, your responsibility is not to everyone else's comfort. It is to your calling, your potential, and your life. Your environment can also elevate you when it pushes you beyond what you thought possible. Challenge is an essential part of growth. Surround yourself with people who stretch you, who hold you accountable, who expect more than you think you can. These environments force you to rise to a higher level. They make excuses impossible. They demand discipline, persistence, and focus. Environments like these are not always comfortable, but comfort does not build greatness. Purpose requires discomfort. Growth requires stretch. Elevating environments are the catalyst for transformation. Your environment also defines your opportunities. Opportunities often come through connections, exposure, and access. Being in an environment where people are pursuing similar goals, where learning is prioritized, where doors open to advancement, increases your chances of success exponentially. Conversely, an environment that is stagnant, closed-minded, or dismissive limits opportunity, even if you have talent and ambition. Who and where you are surrounded by can determine how quickly and how far you progress. The environment of your mind, the thoughts you allow, the self-talk you engage in, is equally important. If your internal environment is filled with self-doubt, fear, and limiting beliefs, no external change can fully elevate you. Purpose thrives when your inner dialogue is constructive, encouraging, and aligned with your goals. Every negative thought allowed to dominate your mind is like a leak in a pipeline. It slowly drains your motivation, your confidence, and your ability to act. Guarding your internal environment is just as critical as curating your external one. Environment can also impact your habits, which in turn affect your results. Habits are often formed unconsciously based on the people, spaces, and culture around you. If everyone around you procrastinates, if distractions are normalized, or if laziness is excused, it becomes easier to adopt the same behaviors. But if your environment encourages action, discipline, and consistency, those behaviors naturally become your default. You do not have to rely solely on willpower. Your surroundings do some of the work for you. A supportive environment amplifies good habits and reduces resistance to growth. It is also important to recognize that not all change happens immediately. When you adjust your environment, it may take time for the effects to become visible. At first, it may feel strange, uncomfortable, or even lonely. But the cumulative effect of an elevating environment compounds over time. Every choice you make to spend time in supportive, challenging, and growth-oriented spaces gradually shapes your mindset, your actions, and your results. Like planting seeds, the results may not appear overnight, but consistent attention will eventually yield a harvest. Your environment also serves as a mirror, reflecting your own mindset back to you. If you are surrounded by people who are ambitious and driven, you will naturally assess yourself against that standard and elevate your expectation. So, if you are surrounded by complacency and negativity, you will unconsciously lower your own expectations to fit in. The environment signals what is acceptable, possible, or achievable. If you want to elevate yourself, you must surround yourself with signals that reinforce excellence, possibility, and purpose. Even small changes in your environment can have a significant impact. Changing who you spend time with, what you read, how you structure your day, or where you work can all influence your trajectory. You do not have to wait for a perfect situation or for everything to change at once. Intentional small adjustments create momentum, and momentum changes your life. Consistently choosing environments that elevate you compounds over time, creating exponential growth in your mindset, habits, and results. Ultimately, the environment you cultivate is a reflection of the life you are willing to accept and the future you are willing to fight for. Choosing an environment that elevates you is not passive. It is an active commitment to your purpose. It requires discernment, courage, and sometimes sacrifice. But the rewards are monumental. Clarity, growth, opportunity, energy, and alignment with your true potential. Limited environments, on the other hand, subtly erode confidence, suppress ambition, and trap potential. That is why awareness, selection, and cultivation of your environment is not optional for anyone serious about purpose. It is essential. Your environment shapes who you are today and who you will become tomorrow. The people you surround yourself with, the spaces you occupy, the media you consume, and the habits you reinforce are all building blocks of your future. Choose wisely, intentionally, relentlessly. If your environment elevates you, your purpose accelerates. If it limits you, your potential is held back. There's no neutrality in influence. The world around you will either push you upward or pull you downward. The question is, who, what, and where are you allowing to influence your life? Because your environment either elevates you or limits you, and the choice to control is yours. Your future depends on the environment you create today. Elevate yourself by elevating your surroundings. Step into spaces that challenge you. Connect with people who inspire you. Consume content that motivates you. Build routines that reinforce growth. Protect your inner world from negativity. Remove what drains you. Add what strengthens you. Surround yourself with signals of possibility and action. The more you do, the more unstoppable you become. Purpose thrives in the right environment. Limitations fade. Vision sharpens. Energy multiplies. Clarity emerges. Momentum builds. That is the invisible power of an environment that elevates. Persistence is a secret ingredient that separates those who achieve from those who only dream. It is not talent, intelligence, or luck that guarantees success. It is persistence. Persistence is the force that allows you to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. The energy that carries you through setbacks and the discipline that turns resistance into results. Every obstacle, every rejection, every difficulty is part of the process, and persistence the bridge that allows you to cross from struggle to success. Without it, potential remains unrealized. With it, resistance becomes an opportunity to grow, learn, and ultimately achieve. Resistance unavoidable. No one pursues a meaningful goal without facing it. Resistance appears in many forms: doubt, criticism, fear, failure, distraction, delay, or fatigue. It is the friction that tests your resolve. Many people see resistance and interpret it as a signal to stop, a sign that the goal is too difficult, or proof that they are not capable. But resistance is not the enemy. It is a measurement. It is an indicator of value. The greater the resistance, the greater the potential on the other side. And persistence is what allows you to transform that resistance into tangible results. The first step in turning resistance into results is recognizing that resistance is natural. It is a part of life and growth. Every person who has achieved greatness has faced it. Every breakthrough has been preceded by struggle. When resistance appears, it is not a signal of failure. It is a signal of progress. It is life's way of saying, you are on the right path, and this is going to take everything you got. Those who persist despite resistance are the ones who achieve extraordinary results because they refuse to let temporary obstacles dictate their destiny. Persistence requires commitment. It is not about occasional effort or bursts of motivation. It is about consistent, deliberate action over time. There will be days when you feel tired, overwhelmed, or discouraged. There will be moments when it seems easier to quit than to continue. Persistence demands that you keep moving even when the feelings are contrary. It is the willingness to act, not because you are always inspired, but because you are committed to the outcome. The persistent person acts in spite of emotions, doubts, and difficulties. One of the reasons persistence is so powerful is because it creates momentum. Momentum is the compounding effect of consistent action. Every step you take, no matter how small, builds on the previous one. Resistance may slow you down temporarily, but persistence ensures that you never stop. The more persistent you are, the more momentum you build, and the faster progress accelerates. Eventually, the very obstacles that seemed overwhelming become stepping stones. They no longer block your path. They become part of the path. Resistance transforms into results because persistence keeps you moving forward. Persistence also builds character. The process of facing resistance, refusing to quit, and continuing despite difficulties develops resilience, patience, discipline, and determination. These qualities are not optional for anyone pursuing meaningful goals. They are essential. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your mindset and equips you for the next level. Without persistence, obstacles remain threats. With persistence, obstacles become teachers. They mold you into a version of yourself capable of achieving what initially seemed impossible. Many people fail not because they lack ability, but because they stop too soon. They quit when the breakthrough is just around the corner. They give up in the middle of the storm, not realizing that persistence is what turns storms into stepping stones. Resistance is temporary, but the results of persistence are lasting. If you continue when others quit, you will reap rewards that those who stop will never see. The moment you push through the hardest part is often the moment the path clears and results begin to manifest. Persistence requires focus. It is not enough to simply keep moving in a random direction. You must persist with intention, clarity, and purpose. Every action must align with your ultimate goal. Resistance often comes to test your focus, to distract you, and to tempt you into surrendering. But persistence demands that you stay on course, ignore distractions, and maintain your commitment to the outcome. Focused persistence multiplies effectiveness, while unfocused effort may burn energy without producing meaningful results. Persistence also teaches patience. Results do not always appear immediately. Growth, achievement, and success take time. Many people quit because they want instant validation, immediate progress, or overnight results. Resistance appears during this waiting period, challenging their resolve. Persistence allows you to endure the delay. It allows you to continue learning, improving, and moving forward while the results are being prepared. Patience combined with persistence is the foundation of sustainable success. Fear and doubt are two of the biggest enemies of persistence. When resistance appears, it often triggers fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of inadequacy. Doubt creeps in, whispering that you are not capable, not ready, or not deserving. Persistent people acknowledge these feelings but do not allow them to dictate action. They act in spite of fear and doubt, knowing that courage is not the absence of fear but the decision to act anyway. Each time you push forward despite fear, you weaken its hold and strengthen your capacity to achieve. Persistence also fosters creativity and problem solving. Resistance forces you to confront challenges, think critically, and adapt. When the original path is blocked, persistence drives you to find alternative routes. It cultivates resourcefulness and resilience. Every obstacle presents a puzzle, and every persistent effort generates solutions. Over time, Persistence transforms challenges into opportunities. The more persistent you are, the more equipped you become to navigate complexity, overcome setbacks, and convert adversity into advantage. Another important aspect of persistence is learning from failure. Failure is not a signal to quit. It is feedback. Persistent people analyze setbacks, adjust strategies, and continue with greater knowledge. Resistance often comes disguised as failure, but it is through these experiences that mastery is developed. Each attempt, each iteration, and each lesson compounds, bringing you closer to the results you desire. Persistence turns the learning process into a ladder. Each failure is a step upward rather than a reason to descend. Persistence also strengthens confidence. Every small victory achieved through consistent effort proves to you that you are capable. Each obstacle you overcome builds self-trust. Over time, you internalize the belief that you can handle whatever resistance comes your way. Confidence and persistence reinforce each other. Confidence fuels persistence, and persistence builds confidence. The person who persists becomes unstoppable because they have repeatedly proven themselves that resistance is not permanent and that results are within reach. It is important to note that persistence is not stubbornness. It is not about repeating the same actions blindly without adjustment. True persistence entails intelligent persistence. It involves learning, adapting, and improving while never abandoning the goal. It is the combination of consistency and flexibility. You may encounter roadblocks that require new strategies, but you never abandon the destination. Persistent people adjust without surrendering. They innovate without giving up. That is how resistance is converted into results. Persistence also impacts perception. When others see someone consistently moving forward despite obstacles, they are inspired. Doors that were previously closed begin to open. Opportunities appear. People are drawn to those who refuse to quit. Persistence creates credibility, reputation, and influence. Your determination signals to the world that you are serious about your purpose. It attracts resources, support, and partnerships that amplify your efforts. Results often follow persistence not only because of your own action, but because the environment begins to respond to your unwavering commitment. Time is a critical factor in persistence. Many people underestimate how long it takes to achieve meaningful results. They expect fast outcomes and give up too early. Resistance strongest at the beginning and middle of any significant endeavor. The end may be closer than you think, but only persistence carries you there. If you continue when others quit, you are often the one who ultimately reaps the rewards. Persistence bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be, even when that gap seems impossibly wide. Persistence also turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Anyone can try occasionally, but few commit to relentless effort over time. The persistent person shows up consistently, acts daily, and maintains focus regardless of circumstances. This compounding effect creates results far beyond what sporadic effort can achieve. Resistance may slow you temporarily, but persistence ensures forward movement. Over time, results accumulate, and what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Embracing persistence requires a mindset shift. You must see obstacles not as setbacks, but as signals that your effort matters, that your goal is valuable, and that your growth is being tested. Resistance becomes a teacher, a motivator, and a marker of progress. Persistent people cultivate gratitude for resistance because it challenges them to improve, strengthens their resolve, and makes the eventual results even sweeter. The greater the resistance, the more valuable the result. Persistence also fueled by purpose. When you are clear about why you are pursuing a goal, you are more likely to persist through challenges. Purpose provides the emotional and mental anchor that keeps you moving even when the path is rough. Resistance may be inevitable, but purpose makes it meaningful. The combination of purpose and persistence transform obstacles into opportunity, fear into fuel, and resistance into results. Finally, persistence teaches the invaluable lesson that action matters more than perfection. You do not need perfect conditions, perfect timing, or perfect resources to persist. You need determination, consistency, and a refusal to quit. Every step, every attempt, every small victory compounds over time. Resistance is temporary, but the results of persistent action are permanent. Those who persist eventually achieve what they set out to do, not because it was easy, but because they refused to stop. Persistence is the bridge between dreams and reality, between struggle and success, between resistance and result. It is the force that turns obstacles into opportunity, lessons into growth, and effort into achievement. Those who master persistence understand that results are not granted to the talented or the lucky alone. They are granted to the relentless, the disciplined, and the committed. Persistence transforms resistance into results, and it is the defining characteristic of anyone who chases purpose and refuses to settle for less.